on, people? It's your boy Tops back again for another Arsenal ARTETA press conference reaction. Before I get into it, please like, share, subscribe to the video to really help the channel grow. Nearly at 700, guys. We're nearly there. Let's go. We can do it 100%. Now, I'm going to get into ARTETA's press conference reaction, and it was a feisty one. ARTETA was losing his rag a little bit. He was getting a bit rattled. So, yeah, it's interesting, man. It's interesting to see what's going to happen in this press conference in terms of what's going to happen with ARTETA and these signings, man, because it's looking like he's not going to get what he wants. And for me, like I said before, like, there's no one really to blame but himself in respects of he's had the money already. He's had the money, man. He's had the money, and he's not used it right, in my opinion. But yeah, we're gonna get into it, man. We're gonna get into it. Let me see what he has to say. Just gonna get it up. Boom, 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 boom. Here we go. So, on players potentially returning from injury. With Miles there's nothing serious on the scan, which is obviously good news. So it'll be a matter of having a meeting with the medical staff today. We have a training session, so we'll see whether it's too early or not with Willow. It's something similar as well. I think he'll be for the next week, but this week, let's see how it goes. So it looks like both of them have had minor muscle injuries. And I think, bro, both of them needed a rest anyway. Like I said, Lewis Skelly is 18 years old. He's playing absolutely magnificently, but you cannot burn these teenagers in the ground. We've seen it before with Wilshere. We've seen it with Ramsey. We've seen it with Walcott. We've seen it now with Saka. Eventually, it's caught with him. You cannot be running these guys into the ground. And for me, you need to be protecting Lewis Skelly, even though he's been our best left back. I can't really deny that. He's been our best left back so far this season. But yeah, he needs a rest. And obviously, Saliba is obviously a Rolls Royce of a defender. But yeah, he needs a rest as well, man. He's been playing every 3 days for the last 4, 5, 6 months. Like, he's hardly had a rest. I think the only 2 games he's missed, obviously before the injury, was the 2 Carling Cup games, which he didn't play. So yeah, man, I think these guys needed to be rested anyway. And again, it goes back to the squad not being trusted by the manager. He put these plays together, so it's up to him to make sure we've got an adequate players in the positions where we can put them in and not feel any kind of, obviously, downgrade in terms of the performances and obviously the players. So hopefully, for me, I'll rest. Obviously, we've got Wolves. If we cannot beat Wolves without Saliba and Lewis Skelly, then obviously there's there's bigger issues going on with the club rather than obviously them two. So yeah, we need to make sure we beat them. So I'll rest them. We've got a massive game against Manchester City that obviously we need to win. So yeah, we'll have to see. On Ben White, he's still not available. Obviously, there was reports coming out that he could be back. Well, he was back in training and could be available as soon as the Wolves game. Obviously, they've done a rain check on that and made sure that, no, we're not going to rush him back. And for me, again, I don't think Ben White should be rushed back at all. He's had major knee surgeries, missed 3 months out of the season. What we don't want is rushing him back and then he gets injured again, which means Timber's going to have to play a majority of the season at right back unless he plays Partey, which, let's be honest, no Arsenal fan wants that. Every Arsenal fans hate Partey at right back. So yeah, we need to make sure Ben White comes back 100% fit. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see when he's back. Oh, this is the big question. This is the one I was waiting for. I've seen that, obviously, a few little quotes on Twitter. So yeah, let's have a look at this one on whether it's essential we sign a forward in the window. Now, for me, we all know, and for the majority of Arsenal players, we all need a striker, man. We all need a striker. There's no doubt about it. We need a striker, at least minimum. In fact, we need 2. We need a striker and a winger, if we're being honest. Saka's going to be out for the season. Jesus is out for 10 months. Like, we need 2, but we're probably not going to get that. But he goes on to say, my opinion is clear. We lost 2 very important players in Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Jesus, which I just said. So we lack goals, people, options in the front line. It's clear. Now, if we cannot get the right player, that's what we are actively looking for. By any player, no. We need someone that makes us better and makes an impact on the team. It's clear for that period that we have lost them. Ideally, we need someone help because we are short already and we're even shorter. The team has to still cope with that, but we have to do what is right for the club. Now, for me, this obviously goes to show that he needs help. He wants, obviously, reinforcements. But the fact that it's taken Saka and Jesus to get injured is obviously an issue because we needed reinforcements with these guys fit. We didn't have enough firepower. We didn't have enough quality going forward. We've shown that last season. We've shown that in the Champions League the season before as well, that we didn't have enough quality, enough star power, enough stardust to actually win and go further in those competitions against the Bayern Munich. Obviously, against Aston Villa, we missed loads of chances. We needed more players in that front line. So obviously, it's a bit of a worry that now it's taken 2 long-term injuries. And by the looks of it and by the sounds of it, guys, it does look, he's putting Gabriel Jesus and Saka in the same breath, which means they're probably both out for the season, which means he knows he needs reinforcements, man. He knows he needs extra added players to really come in and make sure that we can challenge for the top trophies. But the problem I have, obviously, with Arteta is that you've said this now, but behind the scenes in the summer, you were saying these owners are the best in the world. You signed your £15 million deal. And for me, you can't have it your own way. You can't eat both slices of the cake. You cannot praise these owners and say they're the best in the world. I've not seen any owners like this. And now you need actual backing. Now you've got severe injuries to two of your main, obviously, attackers. Someone's obviously dragging heels. There's only 7 or 8 days left of the window. We've not even made a bid for a player. Now you can say, well, Arsenal normally, concise the player, make sure they definitely want a club, and then they put in a bid that gets accepted. Not all the time, to be honest, but we're leaving it late. And you're looking at the players we're linked with, lightly linked with, like Cunha and stuff like that. These bro, the later we leave it in the window, the more chance we're gonna have to be spending 65, 75, 85 mil on these players, man. We need to make sure that we get proper adequate replacements for Saka and Gabriel Jesus as soon as possible. We've already gone out of one competition to Man United in the FA Cup on penalties with 10 men. We're 2-0 down in the other competition. It's looking like a very bleak task to even get through to the final of that. And yeah, we're doing well in the Champions League. Kudos. But with the new structure as well, I didn't actually realize with how teams are falling in the table, we could even still get a big team in the last 16. We can still get a PSG. We can still get a Man City if they obviously end up getting outside the relegation zone of the Champions League. We can still get one of these teams in the lower echelon of the table who are not really doing very well. Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, etc. So it's a tough task, man. It's a tough task. And I think the comments he's coming out with, I just think it's going to bite him. It's going to bite him where it hurts, man, because we've had plenty of opportunities in the summer window and then in this window to make sure we strengthen it adequately, make sure we get in the best possible players that we can possibly find. We were linked with players like Isak. We were linked with players like Vlahovic, even Ivan Toney. We needed to get a proper striker in for the last 2 or 3 years. And now we've literally left it until we're down to the bare bones in terms of injuries. We're relying on someone like Raheem Sterling, who's obviously past his best. And now we're really struggling. And you're looking at the window. I personally, guys, don't think we're going to sign a player in the next 7 or 8 days because we're hearing reports, even when we've been linked with like Sesko, reports saying we're not willing to pay the £60 million, £70 million deal. It's always the same stuff when it comes to large signings, and it's very, very frustrating because you've seen the manager and the club replace the same positions. How many keepers have we bought? We bought 5 or 6, 7 keepers. How many left backs have we bought? We bought Calafiori, we bought Tabaj, we bought Zinchenko. That's nearly 80 mil on left backs. And we had Kieran Tierney at the club as well. You look at other positions that we spent countless money on. Ben White, 50 mil. We bought Tomiyasu to play right back. We had obviously Cedric was obviously 4 or 5 years ago to play right back. Then we bought Timber to play right back. But then you look at the strike, we ain't bought a proper out 9. We ain't brought a proper number 9 since he's been here in 5 years. So I just think the distribution of the money has been poorly distributed, if I'm being honest, man. We should have spent more on the attacking areas. We only bought Trossard because we couldn't get Mudryk. And Havertz was supposed to be in midfield, and we put him into the centre forward position. And obviously, Jesus had the horrific knee injury, which is unfortunate. But as soon as he had that injury, we should have looked to actively replace him and not rely on him because he was never going to be the same afterwards. And now he's had another knee injury, so it's poor. And if the window will close without us bringing in a striker, that's an option. It doesn't depend on us. It doesn't depend on just Arsenal or Mikel or our will. It depends on the market and other factors. Now, this is obviously an issue as well because he's now saying that there's a potential that we might not get anyone in. He's saying that already, which is a massive issue, guys. Like, we cannot go another window without getting in a forward. It's unacceptable. And us as fans, we need our voices louder, man. We need to, because that transfer window, I've been thinking about it a lot the last, obviously, 2 or 3 weeks. Like, that summer transfer window was absolute shambolic. The fact we were 2 points off Manchester City, 2 points off within 1 win of the title. And we strengthened it with Calafiori, a left back, Marino, who obviously is flat to deceive so far, and washed up Raheem Sterling on loan and Neto on loan. A keeper that is not going to play the season unless Ray gets injured. It's absolutely criminal when you think about it, considering we as a fan base knew what we needed. Minimum, we needed a striker and another forward player, a proper winger, a proper forward player. And we ended up getting Sterling, which is obviously unacceptable at this stage of the project, at this stage of us trying to get over the line and win a major, man. We have to call these things out. This was not a good transfer window. It was so bad. And if there's oh god, I've just gone off it. He says, if they're working on other targets, obviously he puts yes, but yeah, he's working on other targets. But are we going to get the targets? That's the key thing. And if we're considering ending one of our domestic loans. We are not thinking about that. So obviously, I think it's in the contract that, it's a standard set loan. There's no real cancellation fee or cancellation like clause. Chelsea definitely would not have put that. They were not very happy of obviously giving Sterling for free in the first place, so paying the majority of his wages. So they definitely were not going to put in a clause that would allow him to come back. So they would have to pay the majority of his money again. So yeah, that's definitely not going to happen. So we've got him to the rest of the season. On how we've changed since the opening day against Wolves, I think we are a much better side since the start of the season in every sense, because we have evolved a lot as a team. We have had some very important experiences, and the way we have competed throughout the last 7 or 6 months with everything that's happened, it's been outstanding, I think. See, I disagree, man. I think we've slowly got worse into the performances, man. Like the last month or so, especially the home games, guys. Some of the home games have been absolutely horrific. I've been putting the 0-0 at home to Everton, the Newcastle game, the Man United game, the chances we missed. Spurs, we missed a load of chances as well. The game the other night, even though we won 3-0, it wasn't the best things to watch. I just think we're so heavily reliant on Saka. I know he's injured. I know he's one of our best players. But the one thing I have to question about the manager is, can he create different scenarios when his main guys are not there to make sure we get over the line, to make sure our football doesn't decrease as much as it is, to make sure that we're not relying so much on set pieces. And for me, he's not been able to do that. And that's why we've drawn so many games. Odegaard got injured and missed, 2 to 3 months. And we didn't see Ethan in that 10 once in the Premier League. He didn't start one game. We were all crying out for it. Trossard was drowning out there. Trossard did not have the capability to play that role on a consistent basis. He had a couple of good games against PSG. He was okay against Spurs away. But then after that, obviously the quality deteriorated. And I think for me, we needed someone in like an Ethan who was obviously full of flair and fearlessness, because he's 17 and he wants to make an impression. And to add to that, he's got the quality as well. And I think we missed a massive trick not playing him in that position. And then we've seen the same with Saka, man. We're trying Martinelli there. We're trying Sterling there. For me, it's got to be Ethan again. And I feel sorry for the kid, because we shouldn't have having to be relying on a 17-year-old to play on the right wing week in, week out until Saka's back, which I don't think is going to be the season. It's absolutely ludicrous, man. But this is the position we're in because we didn't strengthen well in the summer. On facing the new Wolves manager, he's been in for a few weeks already, so we already know what he's like. I know Victor very well from previous clubs as well, and what his ideas are. It's very clear how he sets up the team. He has a very good impact on the team. It will be a really tough match tomorrow. They are a really well-coached team, and especially they are difficult to beat. Obviously he's prepping up his mate, and that's great. But listen, Wolves are near the relegation zone. We're trying to challenge for the title. A win is a must, and a good performance. If I'm being honest, obviously every away performance on the Premier League is difficult, but there is no excuse not to try and put in a good performance for the team, because Wolves are going to try and go for it because they're at home. So there should be space to operate for Arsenal to try and penetrate the Wolves' defense. And if we do that and the players take their chances, and this is the one key thing that I'm really worried about with this team, they don't take their chances. They need to take the chances. Otherwise, we're going to be on the end of our massive upset and a shock. On their style, they have done it differently throughout the matches, regardless of the opposition, regardless of the results. So that tells you a lot about their intentions. So we have to understand very quickly what kind of game and what the purpose and what is good for us. On the threat of Cunha possesses, I prefer not to talk about individuals. I'll talk about the collective qualities they have, and they do have a lot. So now he's obviously avoided the question for a reason, because obviously Arsenal are linked with Cunha. The reports are coming out saying it's going to be 60 or 70 million. Can I see Arsenal forking that out in the last couple of days of the window? Not really. We've never really done that. We've never really put big on the last day of a transfer window, really. It's normally deals we've set up prior, deals that we've had in the balance in place, like a Declan Rice. Obviously, Havertz was quite early on in the transfer window as well. So yeah, it's definitely always deals that are really done quite quickly in the window. We never really spend a lot of cash towards the end of a transfer window. It's always like a last ditch bargain bucket basement kind of deal, whether it's a Sterling on loan or whoever else. So yeah, the longer the window goes, the less optimism I have for obviously Arsenal getting a player. I'm playing well without getting the results. That's the fact. But the thing is, we can't feel sorry for ourselves. We have to raise our hands. There are certain elements, certain things, certain moments that we have to elevate our standards. So those small margins become huge, and they're a reflection of what happens on the pitch. But for me, Mikel, you've got to think there's a lot of we have wasted 24 days of the window. 100%, man. What the hell? We have wasted 24 days of the window. Stop moaning, you Karen. Bro, you to focus on your own club, man. Chelsea are spending £60 million on Garnacho. Alejandro Garnacho, rude boy. So yeah, you to focus on that, man. But yeah, I'm not happy, man. I'm going to continue to keep moaning. It's an actual joke. It's an actual joke, man. We've not even been linked with a player. Big up Colin as always, contradicting himself yet again. I don't blame him entirely for the shambles of the window, but why does it take Saka and Jesus getting injured for him to realize we need reinforcements? This is what I've been saying in the chat, bro. This is what I've been saying all stream, man. Why does it take 2 key injuries? It's not like these guys are out for a couple of weeks. These men are out for like Jesus is out for a year. He's out for a year minimum. Saka's going to be, what, 5-6 months? He's snapped his hamstring off. He's had surgery on it. Do you know what I mean? He's just about walking off crutches, I think I've seen. So, yeah, it's a long, long time. I don't know if there are any plans about a winter break. No further plans. Obviously, there's reports about them going into Dubai, which is obviously not going to happen. On our long-term plans for the new players, everything is a factor. We have certain resources, the ability to recruit certain players, to develop certain players, to bring certain players through the academy. Everything in the positive note as well. We have to have our own players. We probably expected to have no participation this year, but they have a lot, a very important one so far, and that's the very big bonus. So, yeah, obviously, we've got 2 gems in terms of Lewis Skelly and Ethan, but you look at it, like I said again, with the money, with the fact that you know the Cronkies, they're always going to have a limit. You know, for me, I'm still shocked they even gave him 100 mil for Declan Rice or 105 mil for Declan Rice because, you know, these owners have never really spent that much money on a player that obviously the manager wanted before. So that was a real surprise. But I always thought in my head that this is not going to continue. You're going to have to, these 2 big signings that were Havertz and Rice for the 65 and 105 million. They were supposed to be our Van Dijk and Alisson signings. The 2 big signings that get us over the line, as well as obviously his management skills. But at the end of the day, it's not come to fruition. Like the Kai Havertz signing, I will keep saying it. That is the worst signing that the club has ever made so far in his tenure, because not because of the player. I think he's a decent player at best, but the overlay of money we've spent on him in terms of the 65 million of the fee and then the £275,000 a week he's getting every single week. That money as a whole could have been put towards a proper player, striker, starter who everyone's happy with, like everyone's happy with Saka. That level, you could have spent it wisely and put it on that player. Now we've got a utility man who's really enough. He's a bench guy. He's someone that can come off the bench, start a few different games here and there. But ultimately, if you want to win the league, he's not going to be the guy that's going to take you forward. And no one really called for him to sign him. So yeah, it's a massive mess, man. It's a massive mess. If the managers should have bigger squads. Yes, but I think we cannot resolve that situation. I think the situation as well with both the Premier League and UEFA rules have to be adapted because the schedule has adapted in a really demanding way. But the constraints that the clubs have had more are limited. That doesn't make a lot of sense to continue in the direction that we want to, which is the best for the football games that we want, to have players available so that players can extend their careers and maximize their potential, and for the show to continue. Yeah, obviously he's saying that we should have a bigger squad, but why do we have a short one at the start of the season, man? At the end of the summer window, he says we've got one of the shortest or one of the thinnest squads in the league. We had 22 players. The season before, I think we had 25 or 26. So we got rid of 3 players, didn't replace them. And it's just baffling how we did that, man. I just don't understand it. On expecting goals against Wolves due to their history in the picture. Yes, thank you for the stat, but for tomorrow's game, that doesn't help us at all, unfortunately. Obviously, every game is different, isn't it? Obviously, Wolves have not been great defensively in terms of keeping clean sheets. But yeah, I think there's no excuse for us not to win the game. And if we can sell players to have a better chance of signing players, it's all about balance as well. And then depending on which player it is, if the player is the player that obviously gives us space or limits us again in certain position, it depends. The rules are quite tricky as well. It's not just what you bring and what you sell. It's actually the resources you have available after that. So for me, that hints that he's looking to sell Zinchenko because he wants... Bro, why are we operating at a one-in, one-out policy? We've seen it in the summer when we sold Smith Rowe and then got Calafiori. We sold Eddie and then we got Marina. And then we sold Vieira or loaned Vieira and then we got Sterling. Like, what is this, man? So he's basically hinting that Zinchenko, who's obviously been linked with a move to Dortmund. And for me, I don't really rate Zinchenko too highly. I think he's okay in certain games, but obviously he's got defensive deficiencies. I think, for me, I'll probably keep him to the end of the season for the simple fact that obviously Lewis Skelly, Calafiori can't rely on his injury record so far at the club so far. Lewis Skelly's a teenager. You can't really be playing him in every single game. So then who else is your left-back options? You're going to go back to playing Kivior. Do you know what I mean? I think you have to really rotate the 3. Obviously, Zinchenko's got injury problems and defensive is not great. Obviously, Lewis Skelly is probably the better going forward and defensively at the 3 combined as a combined unit. And Calafiori's had injury problems and is more of a centre-back than a left-back. So, yeah, I think you've got to keep him, man. But it does seem like if we're going to get someone in, we're going to have to sell someone who's a first team or squad player to make room, which is absolutely crazy. On White's rehab, he hasn't trained with the team yet, but I think it's very close to doing that. He still needs to tick a few boxes in the next 2 or 3 days if that's going well and smoothly. I think he'll be with us pretty soon. So obviously that's good news. And again, big up Timber because how he's been able to play 3 days a week with a torn ACL. Obviously from last season is obviously a miracle. The fact he's not breaking down a bit more because he's played too many games, but obviously we've got no other option apart from playing Thomas Partey there, which no one wants to see. So the sooner Ben White's back, the better. But hopefully when he comes back, he's proper fit and we don't rush him back as well because again, knee injuries are tricky. You can just break down and miss a large period of time if you don't treat them properly. And if he wishes he could rotate himself to have a rest. No, I'm okay. I don't have to run. The physical demands are very different and everything that we want to achieve. Obviously, we put the bar very high, but it's really what I love doing. I'm fine. Okay, on how he has to look after himself. Why are we talking about Arteta, bro? On the rumors of Haven's future, I can't talk about anything that is individual. That is not my duty. Obviously, he's been linked with the move to Manchester United, which is obviously a strange one considering obviously they've just bought Lenny Euro in, they've got Maguire, they've just bought the Litton as well. So there is a plethora of centre-backs there already, but I suppose with them playing free at the back, there might be a bit more wiggle room for him to play as one of the 3 centre-backs. But a bit of a strange move if you ask me, but we have to wait and see. And if we can catch Liverpool, the margins are really, really small. I disagree. You can see how things can go on the last weekend. The turning points are minimal and the gap certainly looks very different. You have to be at it. We have to do what is on our hands and there's still a long, long way to go. For me, we need to make sure that we obviously win as many games as possible. But at the minute, man, we just can't get a run together, guys. Whether it's the performances or the results, it's just 2 wins and a draw or a draw and a win or 2 draws. There's no consistency with the team in terms of performances. Tomorrow, I don't know what we're going to get. Are we going to get a good team? Are we going to get a good performance? I literally have no clue. I literally have no clue what we're going to get. So we'll have to wait and see. And if they'll have a difficult spell. They normally do, so we have to be there, and that's fine for sure. And if the squad can absorb players of the older age profile, yes, it can, because I think you need to find the right chemistry, the right balance in the squad. That goes with the age, personalities, characters. That goes with the different skill sets to adapt to the very different demands that the game can throw at us. So I think the squad is in a good place. Okay. On how Trossard and Martinelli have done in the recent weeks, I'm very happy because I think they've made another step forward. They are impacting the game in a more powerful way, in the consistent way as well. Both of them are playing our very left, playing off the right in the center. It's a great asset to have both because they are really important. And the fact that both of them are now in a good moment, I think gives the team a very good threat. I think, to be fair, I will give props to Martinelli and Trossard. Both in the last couple of games have played really, really well. Better than they had been before. Hopefully they can keep the form up. But we all know that we still need reinforcements in that front line because probably both of their form it's really funny because both of their form was like an all-time downer at the same time, and now they're both playing actually decently well. So eventually they're both going to be on a downer again. So we need to obviously make sure when that happens we've got enough resources to carry us over games. And if players say they need a new signing in the team, not like that, but I think we've all been there. They look at each other and we have very, very short numbers for many, many weeks. They recognize the situation we do. That's why we're trying to do what's right for the club, for the team, and for the players. That's our intention. Well, it seems obviously he's putting a bit of pressure on the board. But again, man, like I said before, bro, you kind of laid your bed in terms of saying they're the best owners in the world. So if you don't get the signings, you don't get the signings, innit? And if the players are consulted on signing, sometimes, yes, especially if they know them, because that's getting away from the computer, what the data is saying, and it's real. I've seen it. I've sensed it. The player can score a lot of goals. Great. So how is this player acting when he hasn't scored for 5-6 games? That's what I'm interested in, watching an interview with a player who hasn't scored for 6 games. Then what kind of goals has he scored against the teams? In which context? Is it the first half? Is it the second half? Is it the right foot, left foot, header? Always early in open spaces. Does he like the physical contact of the league? There are lots of different things when you have a player that has spent a lot of days with him. That's really valuable information that I always do. And this sounds great on paper, but we need to obviously put this all into action and start bidding for players, man. We're running out of time, guys. We really need to start making it work. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble towards the end of the season. We're going to be ended up with nothing. I think we're going to end up with nothing anyway. Big up, Colin. Can someone explain to me why Chief Scout is our interim director of football? Does that make sense to me? 100%, man. Surely that's a conflict of interest. How can you have the one person have 2 different roles that contradict each other? That's kind of crazy. The scout is our interim director of football. Surely you need 2 different people. That's what confuses me with this whole thing, man. Surely you need 2 different people that are saying 2 different things. It's just bizarre to me, man. It's just bizarre to me. on the January market in general? That's a question for Jason, honestly. It's not for me. I'm with the team, and the one that is managing the situation is Jason at the moment. So it looks like Arteta is just throwing Jason under the bus here, saying, listen, if we don't get any signings, it's on Jason. Just blame Jason. Jason's the guy. He's the problem. If we don't get anything, he's the guy that didn't get over the line. Now, for me, the whole situation is an absolute mess for the simple fact that we had Edu leave, in September? And up till now, we've not brought anybody in. Now, you can say, well, they're waiting to appoint the right person. But with the situation we're in and the transfer window we had in the summer, it was very, very pivotal for us to get a proper starting director of football who's been managing at a top club. This guy was already at the club. He's been promoted to this position. But ultimately, if he's been promoted because someone's left, ultimately you didn't see him as a proper asset to the club. Otherwise, he would have had the job anyway. He would have been joint with Edu when Edu was at the club. Obviously, you didn't rate him that highly. So why is he in charge of everything now? Because you can't be bothered to get someone proper. This is always the case with this club, man. They always cut corners. They're always trying to save a few quid and not actually play the full bob for the proper man to get them in charge. Do you know what I mean? And take the club forward, man. So yeah, it's just very, very frustrating. And it looks to me that we're not going to sign anyone, man. It looks to me we're not going to sign anyone. We've wasted 24 days. Big up Bap of Europe, man. He said, why have we wasted 24 days in the window? And it's absolute facts, man. Why have we wasted so much time? We went a plethora of opportunities to get a plethora of players in the summer and obviously in this window. There's release clauses galore everywhere, you know. Gokeres, Osherman. Oh my God, like there's so many players we could get. Lookman's got a release clause. Bro, we've got the money. We were in the, I think we were in the green in the summer. We obviously sold quite a lot of players and we didn't buy too much. Obviously, we bought Calafiori for 40 odd and we bought obviously Moreno for 35. And that was it, 2 loans, man. Where, you know, we were talented to spend X amount on a keeper. Where did that money go? Just disappeared. And we were willing to spend 50 on Nico Williams. Where's that money gone? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of questions to ask, man. Obviously, that concludes the press conference. But yeah, that was just my little taste on the matter. That I'm just not happy with how things are going at the minute. I'm not happy with obviously the season so far, and I'm not happy with how we've been conducting ourselves in the transfer window for the last two transfer windows, man, or 3 if you count last year's January, because we needed a striker then and we didn't get anything. So yeah, man, it's just the same old. I think Arteta needs to be more careful in terms of how he's spending his money, because the signings so far have been done. Obviously, they can be turned around, maybe, but the likelihood of that is obviously quite bleak at the minute, unless there's a drastic turnaround. But yeah, he needs to be more careful and more cautious of how he spends the money, because you're not going to get a pot of money with these owners. We know this. They're not going to keep splashing out. At the end of the day, there's going to be a threshold and a stopping gap, a stopping point to how much money these owners are willing to give Arteta. And now it's going to be changing now, because if we don't get a striker or get a forward in, we're going to end up having the same players for the next 4 or 5 months until the season ends. And hopefully they don't get injured as well, because we're down to Sterling, Martinelli, Trossard, Havertz. That's it. That's all we got. And Ethan. Ethan obviously can play in the number 10 and can play on the right. If these guys get injured, if 1 or 2 get injured, we're stuffed, you know. We're gonna have to be playing Kieran Tierney left wing like we did in the week. He's gonna have a left back who's gonna leave. He's playing left wing because we've got no other options. We have to rest players. So yeah, it's a massive worry. And I feel like for me, if things are not done in the next 4 or 5 days and we don't see signings come in, because for me we still need to, but if we don't at least see at least one, then yeah, there's going to be hell to pay, man. The fan base needs to be very, very vocal as people have been obviously praising them in terms of getting certain signings over the line, like the players that they're like Declan Rice and Timber and Ben White and Saliba and stuff like that. You've got to be criticizing them when they don't get the adequate replacements for players that have long-term injuries who are, well, Saka's our best player. Jesus is obviously our squad player, but he's still a player that's going to be missing for 10 months. These guys need replacing, whether it's now or the end of the season. We need to replace these guys. So, yeah, it's definitely something that we need to keep an eye on. And for me, I'm not happy, and I need to see more things done before I get into it. Obviously, Cunha has been linked, but for me, I can't see Cunha leaving at this stage of the season. It's going to take a real massive bid for Arsenal. Can I see them spending 70 million? I don't really think so, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But yeah, obviously, that's been a quick press conference reaction. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, do all that good stuff to help the channel grow on the road to 700. I'll be back obviously tomorrow for the watch along for Wolves versus Arsenal. at 3 o'clock. And then I'm going to be doing Manchester City versus Chelsea. Big game. And yeah, if Chelsea or Manchester City win, man, they could be on our tails if we don't beat Wolves. So it's a very, very pivotal game. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, thanks everyone, guys, for tuning into the show. Make sure you like the video and the channel. And until next time, don't hate the player, hate the game. I'm out. Peace.